In the heart of Snowdonia, back in 1451, a young woman named Lisa lived a life as serene as the rolling hills around her. At just 17, her world was the family farm, a patchwork of green fields where she tended to her beloved cows. The rhythm of her days was marked by the rising sun, the gentle lowing of her herd, and the quiet satisfaction of a hard day's work. Her life was simple, peaceful, and filled with a quiet joy that she cherished more than anything. She knew every cow by name, every dip and rise of the land, every secret path that wound through the ancient Welsh mountains. The air was clean, the water was pure, and the future seemed to stretch out before her as clear and promising as a summer sky. But peace is a fragile thing. The drums of war, once a distant rumble on the horizon, began to beat closer and closer. The conflict, known as the Wars of the Roses, had finally reached the tranquil valleys of Snowdonia. Soldiers, draped in the colors of warring houses, marched through the countryside, their steel armor a harsh contrast to the soft green landscape. The idyllic farm that was Lisa's entire world was suddenly on the front lines. The scent of hay was replaced by the smell of smoke, and the sound of cowbells was drowned out by the clash of swords and the cries of men. At first, Lisa's instinct was to protect, to heal. She couldn't bear to see the suffering around her. Using her knowledge of the land, she turned her farmhouse into a secret sanctuary. She guided wounded soldiers, regardless of the color of their coat of arms, through hidden trails to safety. She used her knowledge of herbs, learned from her grandmother, to tend to their injuries, mending broken bodies with gentle hands and a compassionate heart. She offered food from her dwindling supplies and a kind word to men who had forgotten what kindness felt like. She was a beacon of hope in a world descending into darkness, a healer amidst the chaos. But one fateful afternoon, everything changed. A marauding band of soldiers, their hearts hardened by battle, descended upon her farm. They cared little for her neutrality or her acts of mercy. They saw only a place to plunder. They trampled her fields, scattered her precious herd, and threatened the very lives she had fought so hard to save. As she stood amidst the ruin of her home, watching the cruelty unfold, something inside her snapped. The gentle healer's heart was forged into something new, something harder. A quiet resolve settled over her. If saving lives wasn't enough, then she would have to stop those who took them. That day, the shepherdess became a warrior. Lisa, who had only ever known how to nurture life, picked up a fallen soldier's sword. It felt heavy and alien in her hands, but her determination was heavier still. She didn't fight with the trained precision of a knight, but with the fierce, desperate courage of someone defending their home, their life, their very soul. She used her intimate knowledge of the rugged terrain to her advantage, leading ambushes in dense forests and setting traps in narrow mountain passes. She moved like a ghost through the landscape, striking with surprising ferocity and then vanishing back into the mists of Snowdonia. Word of her exploits began to spread like wildfire. Soldiers whispered tales of the Angel of Snowdonia, a farm girl who fought with the heart of a lion. To the common folk, she was more than just a fighter. She was a symbol. A symbol that even in the darkest of times, ordinary people could rise up and make a difference. She gathered a small, loyal band of followers, other farmers, villagers, and disillusioned soldiers who were tired of the senseless violence. They weren't an army in the traditional sense. They were a community united by a common purpose, to protect their homes and their people from the ravages of war. For 6 long, grueling years, Lisa fought. She became a masterful strategist, her mind as sharp as the blade she now wielded with practiced ease. She led daring raids to free prisoners, intercepted enemy supply lines, and defended villages from attack. Each victory was hard-won, and each loss was a heavy burden on her soul. The girl who once found joy in the simple life was now a seasoned veteran of a brutal war. The fields of her youth were scarred by battle, and her hands, once soft from tending to animals, were now calloused and scarred from wielding a sword. She saved countless lives, becoming a legend whispered in taverns and sung in ballads all across England. She was a hero. Then, as suddenly as it began, the war was over. Treaties were signed, armies were disbanded, and a fragile peace settled over the land. Lisa, the celebrated hero of England, returned to what was left of her farm in Snowdonia. The fighting was done, but the silence that followed was deafening. She looked at her hands, the hands that had taken so many lives, and wondered if they could ever learn to be gentle again. How could she go back to tending cows and planting fields after witnessing so much destruction? The ghosts of the war haunted her, and she felt lost, a warrior without a war, a hero without a purpose. The legend felt like a cage. News of the Angel of Snowdonia had, of course, reached the highest echelons of power. The King of England, intrigued and deeply grateful for the farm girl who had turned the tide in so many crucial moments, decided he had to meet this legend for himself. He journeyed from his grand palace in London, riding for days until he reached the misty mountains of Wales and the humble, battle-worn farm. He expected to find a hardened Amazon, a warrior queen draped in glory. Instead, he found Lisa, quietly trying to rebuild her life, her eyes holding the weight of the past 6 years. He saw not just the hero, but the woman. He saw her strength, her weariness, her unwavering spirit, and the deep well of compassion that still existed beneath the warrior's exterior. He spoke with her not as a king to a subject, but as one person to another, and Lisa, in turn, saw beyond his crown. She saw a man burdened by the responsibility of a kingdom, a man who understood the cost of war and yearned for peace just as she did. In the quiet solitude of the Welsh mountains, far from the politics of the court and the echoes of battle, they found an unexpected connection. They fell in love. Their story became the final chapter in the legend. The farm girl who became a warrior, who became a hero, now became a queen. Lisa and the king were married, their union symbolizing the healing of a divided nation. She brought her practical wisdom and deep empathy to the royal court, never forgetting the common people she had fought so hard to protect. She championed the cause of veterans, helped rebuild war-torn communities, and her influence helped usher in an era of unprecedented peace and prosperity. The legend of Lisa wasn't just a story of war and heroism. It became a timeless tale of how courage, compassion, and love can truly change the world. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more incredible legends from history. We'll see you in the next one.